Hi, so welcome to this week in game creation. Now, I am really, really busy this week, next week, and probably over the next month. So I thought I'd just film some shorter videos and less about creation and more about the platform that we use. Um, and I just thought I would split the maybe the week and maybe I'll film some more next week just into topics that I just wanted to discuss. So there's not going to be any creation. If you're wondering what all this is my other hat. I've got many hats. This is one of my other hats. So this is my studio, which is in my garage. I normally use my office to film all the ones you've seen so far. So I think this is the first time I've used the actual studio. But anyway, I wanted to just talk about the my history with Clickteam Fusion. And then work from there. So probably many of you, sadly many of you, because Clickteam I don't feel do a very good job of bringing in new users, but many of you will know that, and I might get facts wrong here. This is just literally from my memory. I've not researched anything, so please don't use this as a history of Clickteam video because this is all from my very, very weird memory. So I remember getting, I think it was on the 486. It could have been on a later Intel, but anyway, really like ages and ages ago, I remember getting Click and Play, and it was KLICK and then N Play. Now, what this was my first proper experience in coding an actual computer game. Like everyone watching this will have that aha moment where you finally, oh wow, this is incredible. I can actually make my own games. Now, a lot of you will remember, perhaps, what was it? Clarissa Explains It All. And in Clarissa Explains It All, the boyfriend, not the boyfriend, but the friend who was a boy, was it Mac? I can't remember. Alex? I have no idea. But he used to have a ladder, and then he came round, and I think Clarissa would make him a game explaining their plan, and just seemed effortless that she would create this video game to explain something. And I was like, oh, that would be so amazing if I could do that myself. And my dad comes home with this Click and Play and goes, oh, look, I think you're into computers, aren't you? So here you go, try this. And it was just love at first sight. Now, I did do some stuff on the BBC Acorn, and again, you have to be over the age of 35 to know what the heck I'm talking about. But basically, the BBC teamed up with Acorn, who are now Arm, and now probably one of the biggest companies in the world, owned by a Japanese investment firm. Tried to get sold to Nvidia, but that got blocked. But anyway, it was one of the best things that have come out of this country that we managed to sell off quickly. But anyway, on the BBC, so they teamed up. The BBC basically had this contract to find a company to team up with to bring computers into all the schools across the country, and then they'd have programming based on this computer. And Acorn won the pitch, and it was amazing. And that was my first experience coding, where you'd have line 10, line 20, line 30, and what you do is you get these magazines, and they just had all the code in. And annoyingly, they often had mistakes in the code because as they were typing it out to the magazine, they would type the wrong thing. So actually that was quite a benefit because you'd have to find the error in the code. The program wouldn't run and you'd have to debug it, and then you're slowly learning how things work. I remember with text adventures and stuff like that, I would change the text. Instead of hello, it would be greetings, sire, or something like that. And that's how I think most people get into programming. They tinker. They just have a nice safe space where they can tinker. Now with Click and Play, the beauty of it was that it was just completely non-code. There was no code in it at all. It was all like action-based coding. So what you'd do is you'd have a bouncy ball across the screen, right? And when the bouncy ball hit the side of the screen, the whole thing would stop. I don't know what to do. And it would like flash up pause, and it would say, right, what do you want to do with this ball? And you might be thinking, if you've just used the latest versions, you will have no idea because they've got rid of this. And I think, sadly, but I kind of understand why. But anyway, it would stop it, and it would go, right, what do you want? What do you want to do with this ball? And you would say either bounce it or let it go off screen or wrap it round to the other side of the screen, whatever you wanted to do. And that was incredible because you could make Pong really quickly, because you would just say, right, up and down here and up and down there and bounce the ball and let it bounce. And if it touches the left side, score to this player. If it touches the right side, score to that player. And it took like 5 minutes. And you could then change the pot. You could change the tiles. You could have a background. You could have like obstacles in the way. You can make the ball go quicker over time. You can make the paddle go smaller the higher score you've got, etc., etc. It was absolutely love at first sight, and my watch keeps going off. It was love at first sight. It was absolutely incredible. Loved it so much. Then I kind of got out of it. I don't have a computer background at all. My background's in mathematics, and I don't know, what could you say? So I do a lot of coding now, but I don't have any education. Probably like a lot of people who do coding. I went to university to do psychology, so there's my background. But it was one of those things that I just kind of got off, and I focused a lot in video editing at university. I did like a lot of filming and stuff like that, and so that kind of moved me away from coding. And I was in I think it was Game or something like that, a shop that sold PC software, and I came across what was it called, Game Maker. And I was like, oh, that reminds me of Click and Play. And I might be wrong. I think it was Game Maker, but I could be wrong. I'm just trying to think now. But anyway, and I picked it up and I was like, this looks exactly like Click and Play. And I think like it was when internet was there, at that time. And I looked it up and it was, it used to be Click and Play and they renamed it. And I was like, oh, sweet, blah, blah, blah. And so I bought it. It was like £10, which is nothing. What is it, about $12 or whatever? So it cost absolutely nothing, and just fell in love with it again. And just all those memories came back. And then I got, was it Multimedia Fusion? So I think what Clickteam tried to do is they tried to appeal to a wider audience and say, well, hang on, this isn't just for computer games. You could do multimedia stuff with it. And that never really took off because like there's much better tools. Adobe's suites are just amazing, and you can do coding with that, etc., etc. So yeah, that's where I got up to, and then they released obviously the latest iteration, and they ditched the multimedia because I don't think that was going anywhere, and just liked the Clickteam, which they were always called, I think, well, for a very long time. They were called Clickteam, so it's Clickteam Fusion, Multimedia Fusion, Clickteam Fusion. I bought that. I got the developer version. It was about 300 quid, 200 quid, whatever it was. But at that time, I started using it. Now, you might be thinking, oh, you do release computer games. Not at all. I never, ever... No, I did. I released one computer game. I released a game called Space Penguins on the iPhone, which was basically Flappy Bird, like everyone did. Everyone had a Flappy Bird clone on the iOS App Store. Fine. But I released it and I sold 4 copies, but one of them was in Austria. So I call myself an international games publisher. But, I made 60p or whatever it was off someone in Austria. So there's always that. But you might be thinking, well, hang on, if you're not using it for games, why are you using it so regularly? It is incredibly easy to code macros. And I use them so much. Like, I know Visual Basic's probably better, blah, 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 I don't care. I can do anything on my computer in a fraction of the time with Clickteam than anything else. And you might be thinking, well, what do you mean by macros? Okay, so say if you've got a folder and you've been an idiot and named every file in the folder wrong. Say if you wanted it to say the current year, 2023, but you've written 2022. Now, you could painstakingly go through it and edit each one. You could go on the internet and try and find a program that does that A, doesn't have viruses, B, doesn't have bloatware, or C, doesn't do it halfway and then ask you for money. Or you can just open up Clickteam Fusion, use the stuff that they have in there. And I think I've done a couple of videos in the past about this side of Clickteam, but they have everything. You can literally do anything you want with the file system with Clickteam, and it really is embarrassingly simple. You just do a for loop, and you just iterate through each of the files and change, and you look up with the string parser anywhere that says 2022 and change it to 2023, and then change that file. It's done. Now, I would say just make sure you know what you're doing, because a Clickteam that's going on a loop going through your file system can cause an absolute nightmare if you let it. It is one simple thing to just delete everything from your hard drive if you don't know what you're doing. And you might think, well, that should be quite hard. It really isn't, because if you've set like a string value for the file you want to delete, but you haven't set it right or in the right place, or you've set it after you've deleted it, it perhaps could just delete everything. So just be careful. But yeah, and so that I use it all the time for that, all the time. In fact, there's a part of a website. So I do websites now as well, and that's where my focus is. I've done some JavaScript stuff on this channel before, but I have parts of a site I'm doing at the moment need a little animation. Now, I used to use Flash, like Adobe Flash, for that. I don't really like the new animate and stuff. And I thought to myself, I could do this with Clickteam. I could actually have a little thing doing a quick animation on Clickteam, and it's probably more bloaty than it needs to be, but I don't have time for this website, which is actually what I'm doing at the moment. So I don't have the time to be learning new things or going to. I've literally imported it in, got the canvas object, plotted that there, and I got it working in 2 hours. I had a fully functional website with this animation in 2 hours, which is insane. I was thinking it would be about a week before I got my first iteration of this site, my minimum viable product. I got it in 2 hours thanks to Clickteam. And so yeah, I'm rambling now, and I really should be focused on cutting this up into 5 pieces, but I think I've gone way too deep for this video, so I'm going to leave it there. I want you to share all your experiences of Clickteam, so write it all in the comments, all of your memories of Clickteam, and I'll see you tomorrow for another video like this one. So I'll see you then.